Savage Daughter by McCall Logan. Act 1, Scene 1. Cronin, Connecticut, mid-1600s. We open on the small Puritan town market. There are stands set up and people bustling to purchase items while the Reverend is on his soapbox preaching to the citizens.
Therefore you have no excuse, O man, every one of you who judges. For in passing judgment on another, you condemn yourself, because you, the judge, practice the very same things. We know that the judgment of God rightly falls on those who practice such things.
Yes, so true.
Do you suppose, O man, you who judge those who practice such things and yet do them yourself, that you will escape the judgment of God? Or do you presume upon the riches of his kindness and his forbearance and his patience, not knowing that his kindness is meant to lead you to repentance?
Amen.
Amen. But because of your hard and impenitent heart, you are storing up wrath for yourself on the day when God's righteous judgment will be revealed.
Yes.
So true, Reverend.
Reverend, I believe our dear Judge Pryor will be distraught to hear it.
Dr. Bailey, you know as well as I do that it is God who guides Judge Pryor's hand, just as God guides mine.
An older woman and a teenage boy wearing a hat enter the square to trade.
Too true, Reverend. I only hope that God keeps his people close to his heart when in the presence of savage evils.
May he not lead us into temptation, but deliver us from evil, brother. We will not fear the world while he walks with us.
Oh, but I do fear, Reverend. I all too often hear whispers drifting in from neighboring towns.
Reverend walks off his box to speak to Dr. Bailey.
He's speaking about us.
Anache Mulligan.
Perhaps we can speak of what troubles you in God's house, Doctor.
Only a fool wouldn't see it, Reverend. The darkness these people bring with them, wherever they go.
So cool.
Me.
Dr. Bailey grabs hold of Nicholas.
What are you saying about me, boy?
I asked my grandmother if she had heard the same whisperings that you speak of, sir.
You said all that in a word, did you? Why speak in dead tongues at all? Missing home?
Nicholas jerks away. Ruth moves between them.
No need to fight over little old me, gentlemen. Mr. Bailey, how is your wife?
Well enough.
Mrs. Bailey enters with Constance right behind her. Mrs. Bailey is very pregnant.
Oh, I'd say quite a bit better than that.
Miss Bailey, you are a living blessing.
Thank you, Reverend. Things are progressing well this time.
That is very clear. God could not have blessed a more righteous family.
Thank you, Reverend. Now, as I was saying.
As Dr. Bailey and Reverend fall back to talk, Ruth and Mrs. Bailey move downstage and speak in hushed tones. Nicholas and Constance on either side of them.
And how are you in truth?
I still have pain. Sleeping does not come to me as easily as it once did, but your tea helped with the morning sickness.
Good. You stopped taking the tonic he gives you then?
Yes, I pour it in our chamber pot and empty it in the morning before he wakes.
Well done. I'm sure he means well, but he does not know his medicine.
Ruth hands off a small vial to Constance.
You, girl, take this and rub it on her lower back at night.
Constance takes the vial and puts it in her cape. Ruth gently catches her arm and pulls back the sleeve.
And what's this now?
Constance pulls back her arm and shies away. There are bruises on her arm.
She's fine. Poor girl can't keep her feet under her. She just needs to be more careful.
Mrs. Bailey hands Ruth a coin and she pockets it.
Come along, Constance.
Mrs. Bailey exits. Constance turns to walk away.
Girl.
Constance stops.
You know who to come to when it's time. If not, it's the ginger that helps the morning ills.
Constance exits.
Is she?
Mm-hmm.
She's not even showing. How can you tell?
How's that look? Like her whole world's come undone.
You've seen a lot of that look lately. Our home has never seen so many women.
That won't change anytime soon.
No thanks to him.
You need to watch your mouth around him. Letting someone that close is dangerous.
He's all smoke. I can handle it.
I'm not worried about you handling him in a fight. It's him seeing you closely that has me worried.
No one would believe him.
I wouldn't be so sure about that. His title comes with more sway than yours. And no one would believe you over a white man. You'll do well to remember it.
Ruth and Nicholas exit as Nicholas looks after Constance one more time. Lights out. Act 1, Scene 2. We are at the Ballie house. There is a wooden desk in the corner and a chair. On the other side of the house is a cauldron over a fireplace and a rocking chair next to it. There is a small table with one chair. Mrs. Ballie is rocking in the chair, knitting a small booty.
Constance? Constance, can you come here, please?
Constance enters.
Yes, ma'am?
Constance, be a dear and take the stew off the fire. My feet are too sore to stand on.
Of course, ma'am.
It smells good. I love it when you make your mother's venison stew. It's lucky she left you her cookbook.
Yes, it's my favorite as well.
Do you remember much of her, your mother?
Constance rubs her stomach absent-mindedly. So does Mrs. Ballie.
Just the little things, here and there. I remember her smell.
Her smell?
Yes. It was very sweet and woodsy, like sandalwood and tobacco.
How curious. I wonder if my baby will think I have a nice smell too.
I'm sure they will, ma'am.
I do hope so. I'm going to be the best mommy, aren't I, little one?
Mrs. Ballie rubs her belly again. Constance leaves the room and returns with bowls and silverware. She drags the table and chair to sit in front of Mrs. Ballie and begins to pour them both stew. Mrs. Ballie grabs Constance's hand, stopping her from pouring, and raises the sleeve a little.
He doesn't mean it, you know. He's so nervous for us. He wants a child so bad, and he gets carried away.
Constance carefully pulls her hand away.
Yes, ma'am.
We've lost so many already. It's just best to stay in his good graces. You'll do that for me, won't you, dear? You won't break things and make him angry again? Constance.
I'm sorry, ma'am. I'll be more careful.
That's a good girl.
They begin eating. The door opens. A long shadow is cast across the two women, and the fire seems to dim. Dr. Ballie enters.
Evening, ladies.
I was beginning to worry, dear.
My apologies. A doctor's work is never done. Did I miss any stimulating dinner conversation?
Dr. Ballie removes the knitting from his chair and sits down while Constance prepares him a bowl.
Perhaps the intricacies of knitting a booty.
We were discussing Constance's family, weren't we, dear?
Yes, ma'am.
Sad that.
Oh, yes. If only she would have come to you sooner, husband.
Yes, well, the devil had hold of her in a mighty way. I could do nothing for her, and by the time we knew she had lain with Satan and called for the old Reverend, she had passed.
Christ be with us. I shudder to think what would have happened to our poor Constance. It's lucky we took you in when we did.
Yes, ma'am.
God has blessed you. I can only imagine how grateful you must be as you do not speak it out loud.
Husband!
We are to praise God for his blessings. She would be dead by now if not for us and our kindness, our devotion to Christ, if not for her whore of a mother.
She was not a whore.
What was that, girl?
Nothing. I'm sorry.
You dare speak to me in such a way? Perhaps you'd prefer to be on the street and on your knees before God and all his creation.
Dr. Ballie grabs Constance's arm and drags her to the door, knocking the bowls off the table as he goes.
Please, I'm sorry.
Mrs. Ballie stands and grabs her stomach again.
James, please.
Dr. Ballie stops.
What was your mother, girl? Say it.
She was a whore.
And
she knew the devil.
yes, she did.
He lets go of her arm and grabs his coat.
I have things to attend to. When I get back, I expect you to give me cause to let you remain here. God can only call on his servants to do so much.
Dr. Ballie exits. Mrs. Ballie walks to Constance on shaky legs.
You broke the bowls.
Constance looks up and Mrs. Ballie slaps her. She then exits to her room. Constance gets up and begins to tidy the mess. Lights fade. Act 1, Scene 3. Constance is on the porch of the Ballie house. She is sitting on the steps. Mary enters.
Constance, are you all right?
Mary, what are you doing here?
I'm traveling through town with my father and sister. Why are you crying?
It's nothing. I'm just being silly.
Mary sits next to Constance.
Are you sure?
Yes, of course. How are you? It's been so long since I've seen you. At least since last year's fall festival.
It's true. We don't really venture into town very often unless it's unavoidable.
I would love to live out in the country with you. Waking up in all that nature sounds like a dream. It's awful here.
You wouldn't feel that way if you lived so far from the nearest doctor. It's terrifying when someone gets sick.
I thought your village had a midwife that took care of you.
We did. She passed away from old age this past winter.
There's no one who will take her place?
No one brave enough. Usually these things are passed down from mother to child, but the whole village is scared of being accused of devil worship.
She had no children to even follow in her footsteps?
No, she died alone.
That's terrible.
I know.
Mary, are you sick? Is that why you came to town?
No, it's my sister. She has a cough, but it keeps getting worse.
I'm so sorry to hear it.
Yes, as am I. We're hoping Dr. Ballie can give us something to help.
Is it your older sister that is sick?
No, it's Rebecca. She'll be 11 this winter.
Constance stands.
You can't let her be alone with the doctor. You must make sure your father is in the room with her.
What do you mean? Constance, what's wrong?
Constance rushes to the railing and throws up.
You're sick. I'll go inside and get Mrs. Ballie.
Constance grabs Mary's hand.
No. It will pass.
But you just...
I'm not sick, Mary. Not like that.
Oh, Constance, how did this happen?
I'm sure you know.
No, I mean, who's the child's father?
You must go.
Why? Is someone after you? Are you not safe?
Mary, please. I'll find you tomorrow. Just go.
As Mary exits, Dr. Ballie enters.
Were you speaking to someone?
Only myself.
I see. What are we going to do with you, girl?
I'm sorry.
I should hope so. But you didn't answer my question.
Please, Dr. Ballie. I am so grateful for what you and your wife have done for me. I promise I won't...
Constance grabs her stomach again. She throws up over the side of the railing. Dr. Ballie goes to her side.
Are you ill?
Dr. Ballie checks her forehead, then looks into both eyes.
What is wrong with you, girl? When was the last time you bled?
Oh!
Dr. Ballie rushes inside. Constance runs to the woods. Thunder strikes. Act 1, Scene 4. There is a cabin in the middle of the woods. It has the same setup as the Ballie house, but is adorned with animal skins, vials of different ingredients lay out on the tables, and vibrant colored blankets are on chairs. It is raining hard outside. Ruth sits at the table, mixing ingredients together. Nicholas enters, completely soaked, with Constance limp in their arms.
Where have you... What's this?
I got caught out in the storm on my way back. Found her 20 yards from our door.
Bring her by the fire.
Nicholas lays Constance by the fire. Ruth brings a small container over to them.
Here, rub this on her chest before she gets sick.
Why don't you do it?
As if you aren't familiar?
Hanu.
Fine, give it to me. At least get her a blanket. A wasu.
Nicholas grabs a blanket and wraps it around Constance. Ruth rubs salve on her chest and neck.
What a time for a walk.
I was lucky to find her. She could have drowned out there.
Must have been desperate.
Ruth places her ear on Constance's chest and listens.
Is she gonna be okay?
Shh. I don't hear any water in her lungs. She'll be fine for now.
Good.
Look who's got you in a fuss.
I don't want someone to die. Is that unusual for me?
And defensive too.
I'm putting on tea.
She's unconscious, Akômuk.
The tea is for me. I'm drenched if you haven't noticed.
How could I not? You two got mud all over my good quilt.
I'll weave you one.
That would be nice. You haven't touched her limb in some time.
No. I suppose not.
You need to change out of those clothes before you catch your death.
Nicholas takes off their shirt, revealing cloth bindings that go all the way around their chest. They hang the shirt by the fire and exit to a back room. The kettle starts to whistle, and Ruth walks over to remove it from the fire. Constance stirs.
Ah, you're awake.
Where am I?
My house, of course. You were trying to find me. You succeeded.
Oh, of course. I just wasn't expecting.
What? Thought I lived in a deep, dark cave or a hollowed out tree? I'm not nearly as exciting as the townsfolk say I am, dear.
Constance tries to sit up. Ruth moves to help her.
I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to be rude.
Ruth gets up and makes them both a cup of tea.
Quite all right. I'm used to such things. Now, why don't you tell me why you decided to swim here instead of waiting for the storm to pass?
I didn't have any other choice.
And why is that?
Mrs. Ballie, you've been helping her with her issues a long time now.
True. She's not had an easy time of it. She's buried at least 4 children by now.
Yes, I've been with her through most of it.
That doesn't answer my question.
It happened again. There's always so much blood, and she screams. I've heard that scream enough times to know.
I see. Did she know that you carry her husband's child?
How did you know it was?
Ballie's? Let's just say, despite his best efforts, he keeps me in business. Yours is not the first child of his that was unintended.
There are others?
Yes. Usually in the neighboring towns that he tends to.
I don't know what to do.
That's not true, or you wouldn't be here.
It's against God's law.
So is the monstrous thing he did to you. There's no reason for you to continue to pay for it. That's all right then, dear.
If she finds out that I'm pregnant, she'll throw me out. I don't have anywhere else to go.
Well, none of this needs to be decided tonight. You're welcome to stay here until you've sorted yourself out.
Thank you. I'll pay you as soon as I can.
No need.
But
human decency isn't a kindness, child. It's merely the baseline for humanity. I hope you find that out in time. All I ask is that you help the next person in need, if you can.
Nicholas enters with a new shirt on.
No need to fear them. Isn't that right, Akômuk?
Oh, I don't know. You tell me my table manners are fairly frightening.
This is true.
Akômuk kneels down and hands Constance a long tunic and socks.
You'll probably want to change out of those wet clothes.
thank you.
You may go to my room and change. It's back there.
Constance exits to the back.
Did she say why she's here?
Why is any woman wandering these parts?
And the father?
Ballie. If I hadn't lived through the Pequot Wars, I would say that he was the most mossy white man I've ever met. I'm still not sure I wouldn't say that.
Someone should stop him.
Someone, not you, certainly should.
Why not? I'm stronger than he is. Privilege makes a weak man.
And harder yet to kill. Who do you think the fingers would point to when the town's only doctor winds up dead?
I didn't think of that.
Well, you should start. You need to listen to both spirits, or you'll
Never know my true self. I know. It's not easy for me to figure it out on my own.
I know. I wish you had more time with your tribe. I will never forgive them for that.
Constance enters, this time with dry clothes.
Thank you again. For the clothes, I mean.
Yes, you are welcome.
Spirits, I can't watch this. I'm going to bed.
Ruth stops at the door.
I didn't ask your name.
It's Constance.
Very well. You can sleep by the fire, Constance.
Ruth exits.
She's rude, so she won't tell you, but her name's Ruth. Or Nanu, for those of us who have to put up with her. I'm Nicholas.
Akômuk sticks their hand out. Constance hesitantly shakes it.
Constance.
It's a pleasure to meet you.
I'm not sure why. I'm sorry to put you both out.
Don't be. I meet women every day under similar circumstances.
Women nearly drown themselves on your front step every day?
No. I meant women who find themselves without other options.
Constance sits down on the rug and sips her tea while Akômuk fixes themselves a mug.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said anything.
No, it's all right. It's true anyway.
So, you work for Mrs. Ballie?
Yes, in a way. I've lived with them since I was little.
What happened to your family?
My mother. She died when I was very young. She was possessed.
Possessed?
Dr. Ballie tried to save her, but he said she was too far gone. I was too little to really remember.
Do you believe him? That she had a demon?
I don't know what I believe. How do you know Ruth?
She's my Nanu. My grandmother.
But she's...
White? Yes, I've noticed. She's my mother's mother.
So your father was an Indian?
He was of the Pequot tribe.
Was.
They both died in the war.
I'm sorry.
Me too. For you as well.
That's not your fault.
No. It's his.
Akômuk takes their hat off and puts it by the fire to dry. Their long hair falls down in a braid.
What?
I've never seen a man with blonde hair before.
We all keep our hair. It's a part of us.
It's very beautiful.
They stare at each other a moment. Akômuk stands and grabs some blankets off the chair.
I usually sleep here, but I'll sleep on the right side of the fire tonight.
You don't sleep back there?
With Nanu? Certainly not. Her snoring could wake the spirits themselves. I won't hurt you. I would never do that.
Akômuk bends down to hand Constance the blankets. They aren't wearing bindings anymore, and Constance can see down their shirt. She flinches back.
You're a woman!
It's okay. I'm of two spirits.
What does that mean?
It's hard to explain.
Try.
I have a masculine and feminine spirit all in one. Do you understand? You know what a soul is, right?
Of course I know what a soul is.
Well, I have the soul of a man and a woman. At least that's the simplest way for me to explain it for now.
So you dress like a man and act like a man.
And in some ways feel like a man.
But your body...
Looks like yours? Yes.
Oh. I've never heard of such a thing.
Not a thing.
No, of course not. That's not what I meant.
What did you mean?
I just... You feel like a woman too? No, I mean on the inside.
Yes. In a manner of speaking. What's wrong? Nanu?
No, I'm fine.
You're crying.
I know, I'm sorry. I feel like I cry all the time now.
Stop apologizing.
I feel like I never stop apologizing at home. It's going to take me a while to stop. I wasn't crying because I'm sad or hurt. I've just never heard of anything so freeing before. I didn't know someone like you could exist.
I think maybe you hit your head in the forest. I'll have Nanu look at you in the morning.
I didn't mean to embarrass you.
I'm not embarrassed.
Of course, my mistake.
Look, it's been a long night. Let's just go to sleep.
Constance lays down and gets under the blankets. Akômuk does the same.
Are you okay?
Yes. Why do you have two different names? Is that because you're two-spirit?
No, that's because white people don't like it when you don't have a Christian name.
I see. Do you want me to call you Akômuk?
Akômuk,
Akômuk.
if you want. I'd like that.
Me too. It's like a secret.
Good night.
Lights out. Act 1, Scene 5, the Ballie house. Dr. Ballie is sitting by the fire waiting. Reverend enters from the back room, and Dr. Ballie stands.
Thank you, Reverend. She always calms down when you come over.
Of course, brother. I can't tell you how sorry I am.
Why does this keep happening?
It is God's will that your child be with him. Take comfort in that.
God has taken not one, not two, but 5 of my children, Reverend.
Yes, I know.
If this is God's will, then God is a greedy bastard.
Doctor, I know you are grieving, but you will not take his name in vain. To turn your back on God is a crime beyond forgiveness.
Dr. Ballie falls to his knees in front of Reverend. Reverend pulls him close and holds his head.
I'm sorry, Reverend. I'm just so tired.
It is all right, brother. God will reveal his plan in time. He always does. He will bless you with an heir one day.
I pay my tithes. I pray every day. I even take our charge to church every Sunday. What more can I do to appease him?
Your charge. What is her name again?
Constance.
You know, when I saw Miss Ballie in town the other day, she was glowing.
God save me. She was so far along this time.
I'm sorry. I only bring it up because she wasn't the only woman who had a glow about her that day.
What do you mean?
What I mean, Dr. Ballie, is that our dear Constance seemed to be with child as well.
Dr. Ballie gets up and straightens himself.
You must be mistaken, Reverend.
Am I?
I need to see my wife.
Dr. Ballie walks toward the back door.
Do you remember your book, brother?
Dr. Ballie stops and turns around.
I read it daily.
Then you remember Abraham.
Of course. God blessed him with many sons.
Not at first. Abraham's wife, Sarah, did not have an easy time carrying a child either.
Yes, I remember.
Sarah proposes Abraham take Hagar, an Egyptian slave, to be his second wife, in the hopes of having a child. Abraham consents, and in time, Hagar conceives and gives birth to a son, Ishmael.
But then Sarah had Isaac!
Yes. Abraham remained God's faithful servant, and he never wavered. He blessed his devotion to him with another son.
I cannot take another wife.
No, that is not our way here in this time, but God has blessed you with options, brother. As I've said many times in the pulpit, he works in mysterious ways.
Reverend takes his hat off the hook.
Go tend to your wife, doctor, and thank God for his mercy.
Reverend exits. Dr. Ballie pauses, then exits to his bedroom. Act 1, Scene 6, Cabin in the Woods. Dr. Ballie enters and knocks on the front door. Ruth opens the door.
Mr. Ballie, to what do we owe the pleasure?
It's my wife, the baby.
I see. I am sorry to hear it.
As am I. I was hoping you could give me something to help her rest. It's been almost a week since, and she hasn't slept more than an hour at a time.
A doctor coming to the midwife for help. What will the town think?
You do well to hold that sharp tongue of yours.
Oh, don't hurt yourself, Ballie.
Ruth goes inside and returns with a glass jar, handing it to Dr. Ballie.
I wouldn't let a woman in need suffer, even if she is married to you.
We hear people approaching the cabin.
Best be off. No need to keep her waiting.
What has you worked up?
I have something on the stove.
Not much of a liar, are you?
Can't say I've had the same practice as you.
Akômuk and Constance come up the path carrying a few fish and poles. When they see Dr. Ballie, they freeze.
So, you have been hiding something. I've been looking for you for some weeks now, Constance.
Get behind me.
What's this? Did you find your very own savage to play with?
Shut your mouth.
Get inside.
How dare you speak to me that way? I could kill you where you stand.
You could try.
I said inside now.
Constance, we're leaving.
Dr. Ballie grabs for Constance. Akômuk blocks him, and they fight.
Don't hurt them.
Constance grabs the knife from Akômuk's bag and holds it to Dr. Ballie's throat before he can hit them again.
Constance? What are you doing?
Get up.
Careful now.
Get up.
Constance makes Dr. Ballie get to his feet, all the while keeping the knife in place.
Put the knife down, dear. All is well. I won't hurt the boy. Let us go home and forget this.
No, I'm not going anywhere with you ever again.
Now, let's not be hasty. I've changed. I promise. Ever since you've left, I've had time to think about things. How I've treated you in the past. I wasn't right, and I want to make it up to you. We could be a family, a real one this time. You could join our marriage, just like in the Bible. Just us, the baby, and you, Constance.
What baby?
Oh, don't play coy. I know as well as you that God has blessed us with a child. Blood of my blood.
Dr. Ballie reaches out to Constance, but she flinches, holding the knife closer still to his neck.
You and I don't share blood. Not anymore.
Dr. Ballie looks from her to Ruth and back again.
What did you do?
Carried out her wishes, as I have for many before her. Thanks to you.
Yes!
Dr. Ballie moves towards Ruth, but Constance keeps her grip on the knife.
Leave! Leave now and don't come back. I don't ever want to see you again. Nothing here belongs to you.
You have no idea what hell you have wrought.
Dr. Ballie runs into the woods. Ruth takes Constance's arm and lowers her shaking hand. She drops the knife and goes to Akômuk, who's still on the ground, bleeding from their nose.
Are you hurt?
Just my pride. Looks like he didn't need me after all.
That's not true.
All right, enough excitement. Will you clean the fish so I can get on with dinner?
Nay, Nanu.
Ruth helps Akômuk up and they go inside with the fish. Ruth holds Constance's face for a moment in her hands.
Are you still afraid?
Not anymore.
Constance goes inside.
I am.
Lights out. Act 2, Scene 1. It is dusk. We are in the town square. Reverend is packing up his things and talking to some villagers. Dr. Ballie runs in.
She's a witch, Reverend. I swear on Lord God Almighty, she has known the devil.
The villagers begin to get excited. Reverend tries to calm them down.
This is a very serious accusation, Dr. Ballie.
And I do not make it lightly.
What makes you think the old woman a witch?
It's as plain as day.
That may be so, Doctor, but have you any proof of the matter?
Of course I do.
Then tell us, brother.
Well, have any of you ever seen her within a mile of the church?
No, I have yet to see either of them attend. It is worrisome, but it is...
But she murders children! We all know that!
And who among us is willing to testify that?
I know for a fact.
Reverend pulls Dr. Ballie to the side.
Would you care to tell these good people how you know this, Doctor? Temper yourself and wait for me.
But she...
God has not forsaken you yet. Patience.
Defeated, Dr. Ballie sits on the steps where Reverend preaches. Reverend sends everyone on their way.
She killed him, Reverend. That devil denied me my son.
I see.
That's all you have to say? She has taken my only chance.
Oh, come off it, Ballie. This was not the first bastard of yours that she's dealt with. Don't play me for a fool like the rest.
Dr. Ballie stands.
How dare you?
Reverend pushes him back down.
Sit down, you fool. There are ways to go about this.
What do you mean?
Accusing a witch. You may be a figure in this town, Dr. Ballie, but never forget who God appointed to lead it. Do you wish to make a fool of me?
No. Of course not. I need your help now more than ever.
You would do well to remember that. Now, as I said before, there are ways to go about accusing a witch.
I've done so with our late Reverend. I know how to proceed.
Times have changed. You have to make a show of it at the very least. Come.
Reverend motions Dr. Ballie to enter his church. It is all cathedral ceiling, giving off ominous shadows. Reverend retrieves a large book from his bench and hands it to Dr. Ballie. He reads the title.
Maleficus Malacarum, Hammer of the
Witch, yes. I suppose they do teach some Latin in university, don't they? Maybe it wasn't all for naught. Written by an inquisitor for the Queen's Church, but it's all we have. I must admit, getting rid of the old woman and her savage, it reminds me of younger days.
What does it say?
Oh, it's a guide. One that agrees with God's doctrine. Thou shalt not suffer a witch.
Lights dim. Act 2, Scene 2. Inside the Woodford cabin. Ruth, Constance, and Akômuk are eating at the table.
And they said, Nanu, we don't want dress, we want fish.
You were a very cheeky child.
Trust me, time has done nothing to deter them.
As though I could be anything else with you as an elder.
I'm sure I don't know what you mean.
Oh, she feigns innocence, but you and I know better, don't we, Constance?
I'd rather not be a part of this.
Is the warrior who nearly killed a man a few hours ago afraid?
Warrior?
We don't take threatening a white man lightly around here.
He won't come back, Nanu. Not unless he wants the whole town to know what he did.
I wouldn't be so sure.
I'm sorry.
Why should you be sorry? You defended yourself in Akômuk.
I brought you trouble.
I'm the town outcast, girl. I brought plenty of trouble for myself. Tonight is a celebration, so none of this. I think it's time to break out something tasty.
Ruth goes to the kitchen and begins looking for something.
She's right, you know. You saved me. I'm sorry I was so useless.
You are anything but useless. And it was only right of me to return the favor.
What favor?
Ruth finds the bottle and returns to the table.
Here it is. Have you had wine before?
No, just ale.
Ruth pours them a cup.
Here, try this.
Oh, this is delicious.
You can thank them for that.
You made this?
It's blackberry wine. My father used to make it for my mother every summer. It isn't hard.
Well, I certainly couldn't make anything like this.
Well, there you have it. A perfect match. Constance can keep Akômuk alive, and Akômuk can keep Constance drunk. What more could you ask for?
Aren't you tired after a long day of embarrassing me?
Actually, yes. Exhausted, really. Good night, you two. Don't drink the whole bottle. I wouldn't want you to wake up in the woods again.
You woke up in the woods?
Good night, Nanu.
Ruth exits to her room.
Don't be embarrassed.
Oh, that's easy for you to say. Your family isn't revealing your most embarrassing moments.
Constance looks down at her wine and sits by the fire.
I'm sorry, Constance. I wasn't thinking.
It's fine. It happened a long time ago.
Akômuk moves to sit beside her.
It's really not, but thanks for saying so anyway. Do you want more to drink?
Yes, it's very good. I'm glad you have this part of your family to keep with you.
It's comforting to make something that he made just for my mom.
I can understand that. I have a book that my mother made. That is, if he hasn't burned it yet.
What kind of book?
It has all kinds of things. Recipes, drawings, poems.
Poems?
Mm-hmm. She would sing them to me at night. I can remember some of them. I can't remember what she looked like, but I can remember the sound of her voice when I read them.
I'll get it back for you.
Akômuk.
It's all you have left of her. That means something. It's dangerous to leave something like that in the hands of your enemies, Constance.
I can't have you risk your life for some...
I won't. I'll be careful. I promise.
Akômuk tries to stand, but Constance pulls them back down.
Please. You mean more to me than that book, and I'd rather have it in the hands of my enemies than you.
Okay. I'll stay.
Good. Whew.
I'll go get some more firewood.
Don't be silly. It's late. Just bring me that blanket over there.
This blanket?
Yes. Is that okay?
Akômuk grabs the blanket and lays it on Constance's shoulders.
Of course. It suits you.
Thank you. No one's ever complimented the way I've worn a blanket before.
Constance opens her arms. Akômuk crawls under the blanket with her.
I can never tell if you're poking fun at me or not.
Good. It's best to keep you on your toes.
Your trouble, Ayakskisuk.
Akômuk leans in to face Constance.
What does that mean?
Constance leans in closer.
It means good night.
Akômuk pulls away and lays down on their bed.
Liar.
You'll never know.
Lights fade. Act 2, Scene 3, Woodford Cabin the next morning. Akômuk and Constance are asleep and curled up together. Ruth enters and does a double take. She nudges Akômuk awake.
Care to explain?
Not particularly, no.
Well then, best go get some fire for the stove if you want breakfast.
Akômuk gets up, puts their boots on, and exits out the front door. Constance awakens.
That blanket suits you.
Thank you. What is it with you and Akômuk with blankets? They said the same thing.
Did they? They have a lot of their father in them.
Where are they?
Calm down, child. They just went to get some wood. Ridiculous children, the both of you.
Oh, good. I was worried.
Worry more about getting breakfast started. I'm gonna go out back and grab some eggs.
I'll start the bread.
Ruth exits, and Constance starts setting up the kitchen and bread. Akômuk enters soon after, carrying firewood.
Did you shut the door?
Constance shuts the door, and Akômuk lays the wood down by the fire. They meet in the kitchen, and Akômuk starts the fire in the stove. Constance puts a few slices of bread down.
You weren't here when I awoke. I thought maybe you'd gone to get my book.
Not yet.
You're being ridiculous.
You're starting to sound like Nanu.
Well, neither of us wants you to get hurt.
Then I won't.
You don't know that, Akômuk. I need you to...
Help?
No. Why are you so infuriating?
Constance smacks Akômuk's arm.
Fire.
What?
Akômuk points to the bread over the stove, which is now completely aflame. Akômuk puts the fire out.
It's okay. It's out. Are you all right?
Constance is shaking, and Akômuk holds them.
It's fine. I'm here. I've got you.
I'm sorry. I thought I saw something in the fire.
What did you see?
I think I remembered something about my mother and fire and...
You don't have to talk about it if you don't want to. That's all right.
Akômuk kisses her head. Constance kisses Akômuk. They part.
Constance, I'm not...
I know.
You'd be better off with someone else. Being with me would put you in so much danger.
You're wrong. I've never felt safer than when I'm with you. And I don't care that you aren't like other people. That might be what I love most about you. Your refusal to be anyone but yourself.
They kiss again. Ruth comes in with a handful of eggs. They separate.
I'm slaving away getting eggs, and you two are trying to burn the house down. Who burnt the bread? That was the last of our loaf.
Traitor! I did not!
You are both hopeless.
Lights out. Act 2, Scene 4. The town square. The vendors are out. Ruth, Akômuk, and Constance enter.
I have to meet a customer. You two gather the food, and I'll meet you back here when I'm done.
Yes, ma'am.
Ruth exits. Dr. Ballie and Reverend enter and begin talking to a townsperson. Constance stiffens.
It's fine. He won't try anything with you here.
Right. Old habits.
You know, if he's here, I bet I could go and get...
No. How many times do I have to tell you? It isn't safe.
Have you any idea what he could do to you with such a personal token? What power that gives someone?
He doesn't know how to do any of that, or that he even believes in a higher power. He just goes to church to keep up appearances and look down at others. I'm glad I no longer have to go with them. I never liked how the Reverend would scream and shout.
I don't blame you. There's something about him. I can't quite put my finger on it.
Akômuk and Constance begin to buy their items.
What do you think it is?
I'm not sure. He seems familiar, but I can't place where I would have seen him before.
Well, he's only been here for 3 or so years. Where did he live before here?
So many places, I can't even remember them all. Once the war broke out, we ran. Just never really stopped. This is the longest we've stayed somewhere.
Why here?
It was Nanu's idea. Said this was as good a place as any to die.
Die? Jesus.
She always says that. We find a place to live, sets her bags down and says, it's as good a place as any to die.
Not exactly cheery, is she?
Akômuk places their bought items in a sack.
I wonder why she wanted to stay here longer, though. Not that I'm not grateful.
I'm not sure exactly. Maybe she really does believe it this time. She's been making me watch and memorize everything she does, making sure I don't kill anyone when she's gone.
Constance nudges Akômuk.
I can't imagine you hurting anyone. You don't have it in you.
Hey, I could if I wanted to.
I know that, but you don't want to. You, more than anyone, have every reason to want to hurt them. The way they treat you, what they did to your tribe.
I'm not a saint. Trust me, the thought has crossed my mind more nights than I can count. And if it comes down to me or them,
I hope you choose you too.
Dr. Ballie approaches them.
Well, isn't this nice? The orphan and the savage have found love.
Akômuk steps in front of Constance.
move along, Ballie.
That's doctor to you, you miserable wretch. Where is she?
Who?
Your witch!
What is he talking about?
As if you didn't know. You've been living under her roof for weeks.
Ruth is not a witch. How could you say such lies?
Because he's pathetic.
I'll show you who's pathetic.
Ruth enters.
Enough! Move along, Ballie. I've had enough of you.
What is it with you and your family? You address a doctor properly.
When I find a doctor in my presence, I'll be sure to.
Dr. Ballie slaps Ruth. Akômuk leaps forward, and Ruth and Constance grab them. Reverend steps forward.
Ruth Woodford, you have been accused of the crime of witchcraft and of consorting with the devil. What say you?
I say I cannot consort with someone who doesn't exist.
To deny the existence of evil is also to deny the existence of good.
I never said evil doesn't exist, Reverend. I only said it doesn't take the form that you claim.
And what form does it take, then?
You would know. You see it glinting back at the mirror every day, don't you?
Say such a thing.
Your trials are set for tomorrow morning. You will be held in the church until then.
What trials? She isn't a witch. This is ridiculous.
Nicholas, don't worry about me. Take Constance home now. Everything will be fine.
Nanu.
Go!
Reverend and Dr. Ballie drag Ruth into the church. Akômuk hands Constance their bags.
Take this. I'll meet you back at the house soon.
Come with me.
I can't yet. I need to figure out what to do. What these trials are.
I can't just leave you here.
Go, Constance.
Constance exits. Akômuk runs behind Dr. Ballie's house. Lights dim. Act 2, Scene 5, the Ballie house. Akômuk crawls in through the living room window. They begin to look around for something.
Come on. Where is it?
What are you looking for?
Akômuk spins around as Mrs. Ballie enters from the adjoining room.
Well, you could search all day or you could just ask me.
I wanted to get her book.
So you're the one she's been staying with. Good. That's good.
Mrs. Ballie exits and returns with the leather-bound book.
She must trust you quite a bit to tell you about her mother's book. Took a few years before I even saw it. How is she?
Mrs. Ballie hands Akômuk the book, and they turn to leave. Mrs. Ballie sits by the fire, rocking and humming to herself while she picks up her knitting. Akômuk turns back, hesitating.
You best be on your way, boy. I don't mind, but if he finds you here...
Why do you care?
Mrs. Ballie continues to hum and knit. Akômuk moves to sit by them by the fire.
Do you think these booties are too big for a newborn? I'm always afraid I make them too big.
I said, why do you care if she's okay or not? After everything he did to her, and what you did to her.
Akômuk shakes them.
Answer me!
No! You'll hurt my baby.
Mrs. Ballie grabs at her stomach.
I'm sorry. I don't know what I thought this would solve. God, he's pushed you one too many times now, hasn't he? You can't even see it anymore. What he gets up to.
What do you mean?
I mean, how he's hurt so many women. I was too busy being mad at you for letting him hurt Constance. I didn't stop to think of what terror he's put you through as well.
Akômuk gets up.
Thank you for the book.
How many?
I'm sorry?
Every night she's been gone, I've poured over and over her mother's book, trying to distract myself from her absence. My failures, especially to her, trying to find a way to make it up to her. You're telling me there have been more than just us?
Yes. I only know of the ones who've come to my Nanu and I over the years, but I understand there's a great deal more than I have seen. And I have seen more than I care to.
I could never do enough to stop the blood he spilled. Maybe it's a good thing. If I couldn't stop him, maybe I shouldn't be a mother after all.
He has my grandmother. He and the Reverend have accused her. You could stop that, couldn't you? Talk him out of it? Convince him not to do this.
I will do what I can.
Thank you.
No, thank you for keeping her safe, doing what I couldn't.
She did that on her own, actually.
Akômuk exits out the front door. Lights out. Act 2, Scene 6. The Woodford cabin. Constance enters from the woods and runs up the steps, only to collapse on them to catch her breath.
Ah!
Mary enters soon after her.
Constance, what's wrong?
How did you?
I saw you run off. I tried to catch you, but you're a lot faster than you used to be. What happened? Are you all right?
I was in the square with them, and they just took her like it was nothing.
Calm down. Who did they take?
Ruth! They accused her of being a witch, of knowing the devil, and then they just...
Breathe, Constance.
He's gonna hurt her, like he hurt my mother.
Why would he do such a thing?
Because he hates me, and her, and all of us. He just hates. He's mad because I got rid of it, and he won't let it go.
I'm so sorry. What can I do?
I don't know. I honestly don't know anymore. As soon as I thought I was rid of him, he finds a way to pull me back. And now I've hurt Ruth because of it. This is my fault.
You've done nothing wrong, Constance. Sit back down. Let's just think for a minute.
Constance sits and Mary sits next to her on the steps.
When we last spoke, you mentioned that Rebecca shouldn't see Dr. Ballie alone, not without my father. I told him what you told me, and he refused to leave her side. Dr. Ballie threw an awful fit when he refused to give them privacy. You knew he would hurt her, didn't you? Like he hurt you?
Yes. I knew if he got the chance, he would hurt your sister too.
How many girls has he hurt?
More than I can count. Mostly neighboring towns, but ours too.
What would possess a man to do something so evil? We have to do something.
What can we do? He has the town eating out of the palm of his hand. The Reverend stands by whatever he says. What could you and I possibly do?
We could tell the truth, ruin his reputation, his credibility.
No one would believe a girl alone. They would sooner believe the evil in me than ever expect their perfect doctor.
And you just told me he's hurt more women than you can count. Why not get them to testify against him?
Because no one wants to admit what he did. No woman would come forward and admit that her husband or her future husband will not be the first man who has known her. He is vile, but he is clever. He is all but assured that no one would ever accuse him, because in doing so, they will have accused themselves.
We have to try, don't we? He won't stop, and he will kill Ruth in the process.
Akômuk enters from the forest.
I'll kill him before he has the chance.
Constance rushes to hug Akômuk.
Akômuk, where is she?
She's in the church. They're guarding her.
I'm so sorry. This is my fault.
No, it's not. He would have found a reason to accuse her eventually. She was bad for business. It was only a matter of time.
This is my friend Mary. Mary, this is Akômuk. His grandmother is Ruth.
Hello.
Hello. Sorry to interrupt.
I was just telling Constance that if we get the other women together, we could have a shot.
We've been over this. They can't accuse Ballie without ruining their reputation in the process.
What if they could?
What do you mean?
The town would turn on one or two girls if it meant they could ignore the crime and keep looking at Ballie like he's a poor doctor who fell under their spell. But if we can get all of them to go up against him, they would have to listen. They can't turn their backs on all of you.
Constance, it could work.
I suppose it could. But her trial is tomorrow. You'd never be able to reach them all in time.
My father and sister could help. After Ballie's outburst, there's no way my family could trust him again. They owe you.
I think it could work. You'd have to ride all night, but between the three of you, you could get to the neighboring towns.
Thank you, Mary. You have no idea how much this means to me.
Mary looks from Akômuk to Constance.
I think I do.
Tell the women, if it doesn't work, they can stay here with us. I would never abandon anyone who would risk themselves like this.
I think I know that too. I'll see you soon.
Mary takes off at a run into the forest. Akômuk pulls the book out of their coat pocket.
My book! I told you not to go.
I didn't listen.
You never do.
I hope you don't mind, but I looked through it.
No, that's fine. Like I said, just recipes and poems.
Constance, how much do you remember of your mother?
Akômuk moves to sit on the steps. Constance follows.
Not much. Just the bits I've told you.
Do you remember what she did for money? How she died?
Ballie didn't tell me much. Only that she was possessed and that he was unable to save her. That she was so far gone they had to burn her body to purge it. Ballie said she was a whore.
I don't think any of that is true. Looking at these pages in her book, it's almost like I'm looking at something Nanu has written. There's recipes, yes, but a lot of these poems and such are tricks to remembering medicines, specifically to heal wounds, some of which I've never even seen.
I don't understand. You're saying she was a midwife too?
I'm saying it looks like she was a healer of some kind. When the Pequot Wars broke out, Nanu stayed and helped our tribe the best she could, but she didn't know much about how to heal these kinds of wounds, stop the bleeding. They had a few healers, though, ones who knew what to do, how to stop the blood flow, how to stitch them up. She said they would sing to take their mind off of things, you know. She continued that tradition and sings to the women she helps. The same song every time. I am my mother's savage daughter, the one who runs barefoot, cursing sharp stones. I am my mother's savage daughter, I will not cut my hair, I will not lower my voice. My mother's child is a savage. She looks for her omens in the colors of stones, in the faces of cats, in the fall of feathers, the dancing of fire, the curve of old bones.
She sang me that song every night.
Ballie lied to you. I think he did to your mother what he's trying to do to Nanu.
I won't let him hurt one more person. I don't care what I have to do. We don't leave this place until he's done.
Constance leans into Akômuk and they hold her. Lights out. Act 2, Scene 7, inside the church. Ruth is sitting on a pew, chains on her hands and ankles. It is clear she has been beaten. Reverend is cleaning his bloody hands on a cloth.
Let's take a break, shall we?
Tired already?
Pride is a wicked thing. I'll break you of that soon enough.
You may break me all you like, but that will not change the truth. I cannot confess to something that never happened.
Perhaps, perhaps not. It's not as if you are an innocent. Many children have died by your hand. God will punish you either way.
And your hands are so clean, are they, Reverend? Were you always a man of God? I have seen the eyes of many men, killers and the like, but I have never seen eyes as fathomsome as yours. Tell me, Reverend, just between us sinners, whose blood shares mine on your hands?
I was a fur trader. That's hardly a murderous occupation.
Oh, among the North, I take it. Among the Mohicans and Pequots.
Perhaps. That was some time ago now.
Then you would be among the devils that massacre entire villages over a petty squabble of pelts.
Who could say, really? A savage broke into our camp and killed one of our men. It was their own fault.
You know that isn't true. They would never cross that line first.
Maybe not. But it provided me an ample opportunity to steal my partner's pelts. Indians are easy to blame, and there's just so many.
You told them a Pequot killed him? Spirits, you set in motion an entire war.
I only lit the fuse. It was going to happen anyway. Why not on my own terms? Profit from it while I could.
You claim to care so much about children, yet you have murdered an orphan more than anyone.
Reverend backhands Ruth.
Admit you have lain with the devil and you are his servant.
I will not.
Very well then. Dr. Ballie, bring in your bag.
Dr. Ballie enters with the doctor's case and sets it on the pulpit. Reverend opens it and begins to pull tools out.
Now, usually there are devices that are traditionally used in a witch's trial, but seeing as this is so last minute.
Reverend pulls out a knife.
Tell me, Reverend, how many pelts did it take you to sell your soul? The customary 30?
I'd love to take your tongue, but I do still need that confession. I suppose we'll have to start somewhere else. Doctor.
Dr. Ballie steps in front of Ruth with the knife. Act 2, Scene 8. Morning in the town square. There, an erected pile of tree branches forming a stake. The townspeople have already gathered. Constance and Akômuk push to the front.
Where is she?
He hasn't brought her out yet. Knowing him, he'll want to make a big production. His church is never this full. I don't see anyone yet. What if...
They'll come. They have to.
The front doors of the church open. Reverend is pulling Ruth along and makes her sit on the steps. She looks considerably worse.
Nanu!
Go home. Take her and go home. I can't stand you watching another.
Silence! We are here today to trial Ruth Woodford and deem whether she has known the devil and does his bidding. Last night, she did indeed confess to this.
Witch!
But this alone is not enough. We must also have witnesses come forward and speak to occurrences of witchcraft. Does anyone wish to come forward?
See, she's helped heal all of them at some point or another.
Dr. Ballie enters with Mrs. Ballie being led behind him.
I do.
Dr. Ballie pushes Mrs. Ballie forward toward Reverend.
Last night, my loving wife tried to smother me in my sleep. She would never do that without being bewitched by her.
Is this true, Miss Ballie? You know that attempting to murder someone is punishable by death. But if you were bewitched...
Mrs. Ballie looks at Ruth, who nods, and then quickly looks away.
Yes, I was bewitched.
There you have it, a confession and a witness to her wickedness. Ruth Woodford, you have been tried and found guilty. You are sentenced to be burnt at the stake.
No!
Both Akômuk and Constance run for Ruth. Two townspeople grab and hold them.
Please, just wait. Just wait a moment longer. I am begging you. Please.
Reverend and Dr. Ballie pick Ruth up and tie her to the stake.
All will be well, grandson. This is as good a place as any to die. And you know I will see you again.
Akômuk and Constance continue to beg and thrash. Reverend lights a branch and holds it above his head.
You may have time to pray one last time.
I am my mother's savage daughter, the one who runs barefoot cursing sharp stones. I am my mother's savage daughter. I will not cut my hair. I will not lower my voice. My mother's child is a savage. She looks for her omens in the colors of stones, in the faces of cats, in the fall of feathers, in the dancing of fire,
The curve of old bones.
Akômuk and Constance stop fighting and fall to the ground, crying. The townspeople shuffle away one by one until there's only Dr. Ballie, Mrs. Ballie, Reverend, Constance, and Akômuk.
Don't worry. You'll be joining her soon enough. What is that?
I'm not sure.
Reverend, what is this?
I don't know, but I don't intend to find out.
Reverend runs to the church and locks the doors.
They're here. Mary found them.
What in God's name are you talking about?
Your trial. They've come for you.
Dr. Ballie breaks off a sharp branch from the stake.
I will have no trial.
You'll never hurt another woman again.
Dr. Ballie lunges forward with the stick. Constance pushes Akômuk out of the way. She is pierced in the stomach.
No!
Dr. Ballie staggers back a few feet to Mrs. Ballie.
If you come near me, then I'll kill you too. Don't think I won't.
Mrs. Ballie picks up Dr. Balie's knife from his bag and stabs him in the back. Dr. Ballie drops to his knees.
I see you so clearly.
Dr. Ballie falls to the ground. Mary enters.
Constance! No!
What's happened?
You're too late. Someone! Please! Help me stop the bleeding.
Mrs. Ballie grabs the doctor bag and brings it to sit by Constance. She pulls out bandages and begins working.
I don't know what to do. I don't know how.
Go. I will help her. I told you I all but memorized that book.
But
Akômuk, please.
Constance, I can't.
The
I
Reverend
can't leave.
will keep trying, innocent women. If we are to end this, let us end this. Promise me.
You're hurt.
You cannot help me with this. Please.
Constance passes out.
Go! I will help.
Akômuk runs behind the church. Fire is set to illuminate the Bailey's house, then the vendor's tents.
They're burning the whole town down.
Good.
Mrs. Bailey and Mary begin to work. Lights out. Act 2, Scene 9, inside the church. The windows are covered in smoke, but flames begin to flicker. It is otherwise dark inside. The Reverend lights a candle with shaking hands. The sound of the song is deafening and banging begins on the outside walls. Akômuk enters the church.
You boys, you have to get me out of here. They're coming for me.
Akômuk does not move.
Please, do me the small kindness. Be better than me.
I am not one of your saints. I have no miracles to perform today. I will show you the same kindness that you have shown.
Akômuk walks back towards the door.
God damn you, you savage. I should have killed you the day I killed the rest of them.
Reverend runs towards the door and tries to push past Akômuk. Many hands push through the door, holding the Reverend back, while Akômuk makes it through. And we hear something heavy coming down on the doors from the outside. Reverend pounds on the door. He goes back to the altar and prays with his candle in hand. We hear the candle being blown out. Act 2, Scene 10, the Woodford cabin. Constance is laying on the blankets by the fire. Akômuk is next to her. Constance stirs and tries to sit up.
Easy, easy. Don't try to sit up.
I didn't think I would see you again.
Neither did I. You can thank Mrs. Bailey for that. And your mom.
My mom?
She memorized your mother's book. Seems only right to give credit where credit's due.
But he stabbed me in the stomach.
Yes, but he didn't hit any vital organs. He hit your uterus, but it had swollen enough that it pushed anything vital out of the way. You were still pregnant, Constance.
How? I took everything Ruth gave me.
I know, but there's no guarantee without doing it directly. It happens sometimes, and the woman will bleed like normal, but it doesn't harm it. Bailey did it in the end. I almost wish I could bring him back to life just to tell him. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said. I just thought you'd be okay with
It's not
everything.
that. We didn't save her. Akômuk, I'm so sorry. I would do anything if we could just...
I know. Me too. She started something, though. At the very least.
What do you mean?
When the survivors came, they saw what happened to Namu. That they were too late. They just started burning everything in sight. The whole town is gone. The townspeople left and moved on, so it's just us and the survivors left.
The survivors stayed?
Not all of them, but most, yes. Some of them can't, and I made a promise to be here if that happened.
But the town is gone. What will we do?
We rebuild it, I guess. Start over. I was thinking after that, maybe we could teach them all the trade.
How to be a midwife?
We're a dying breed. It's clear that the surrounding towns need help, and it's not like Ballie was doing any real healing.
That's true. So we start all over. Just like that.
Who's going to stop us?
No one.
It's settled then.
Akômuk settles back down carefully next to Constance and covers them with a blanket.
What is it with you and this blanket?
My father gave it to my mother as a ceremonial blanket. You use one when you want to court someone.
That explains a lot.
I can get a different blanket if that
No.
one...
Don't you dare.
It's settled then.
Lights fade.